Okay, good morning everyone, and we are continuing here in Tehillim, Perek Pei Vav, number 86, and we are moving along, as I mentioned in the beginning, although that it's a shorter Tehillim, but it's very dense in the ideas and the messages that we need to take home. So we're moving along at a little bit of a slower pace with this one, and we're holding in Pasuk Ches, number 8. Now, if you recall that last week we spoke about this idea that even though that we would all love for our tefillos, for our prayers to be answered, we learned that just knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself is listening to everything that you say, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears your words and He inclines His ear, and He is like a parent who hears the cries of their child. Even if the child is in pain, when the parent hugs the child and soothes the wounds, that's already part of the healing process. So too, just knowing that Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is listening carefully to every word that we are saying in our prayers. He hears us pouring out our hearts. He feels the pain. He feels the asking, the supplications. Just knowing that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu interacts with us already is part of the process of bringing us closer to Hashem. So whether we get answered in the affirmative, which of course we would love to, and Hashem has nothing holding Him back, He could always answer us affirmatively if that's the right thing. Or if we get answered in the negative, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not acquiesce and give us that which we are asking for, we are well aware that the Ribbono Shel Olam is listening to us, and He cares about us, and He loves us, and He wants what's best for us, and therefore just knowing that's a comfort for a person, and that is part of the nechama, part of the consolation, part of the comfort, part of the coming close to Hashem. In Pasuk number 8 it says, Ein kamocha be'elokim Hashem, there is no one like you, Elokim, like you, God, ve'ein kamasecha, and there is none like your creations. Maybe you might think it means there's nothing like your actions, but kamasecha, there's nothing in the world like your maasecha, your creations, Hashem. Now Rav Hirsch puts the next three verses together, so we'll say them all together. Number one, Ein kamocha be'elokim Hashem, there's no one like you, Ribbono Shel Olam, ve'ein kamasecha, and there's no creations like yours. Kol goyim, the next verse, number 10, Kol goyim asher asisi, all of the nations which you have made, Yavoyu, they will come, v'yishtachavu levanecha, they will bow down before you, Hashem, my master, v'yichabdu lishmecha, and they will give honor to your name. One of the ideas that we've seen a lot through Tehillim is that it's not just enough that Klal Yisrael comes to the recognition that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech, He's the King of the universe, the Master, the Borei Olam, the Creator. That's not enough. The only way that Hashem's sovereignty is going to be felt throughout the entire world is when even the Goyim, even when the nations, they will come and they will yishtachavu, they will bow down and supplicate themselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they will honor His name. And thirdly, he writes in Pasuk Yud in number 10, Ki Gadol Ata, you are great, Hashem. V'oise nivlois, you do wonders. Ata Elokim lavadecha, you, Hashem, alone are the one who does all of the wonders. Let's go back to the first one that we saw today, number 8, and see what it means over Ein kamocha be'elokim Hashem, there is no one like you, Hashem. Dovid HaMelech, as we pointed out dozens of times as we learned Tehillim, maybe hundreds of times already, he lived a life of difficulty. He lived a life of challenges. He lived a life of suffering physically, emotionally, spiritually. Dovid HaMelech was on the run. Dovid HaMelech was being hunted down by his own son. Dovid HaMelech had naysayers around him. He had challenges and nisyonos, tests of the Yetzer Hara that was superhuman that he had to go through. And in all that he experienced, As we know, and that's why we have Sefer Tehillim, Dovid HaMelech never let down his amunah, he never let down his connection, his faith with Hashem. And says Rav Hirsch the following idea: it is in the need of the human soul to win God's nearness. The neshama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to every single one of us really only craves one desire in this world. And that is to be near to the Ribbono Shel Olam, as Dovid HaMelech says elsewhere, V'ani kirvas Elokim litayv. As for me, says Dovid HaMelech, I don't need the riches, I don't need the palace, I don't need the honor and the glory that I receive from all of the constituents of my palace and my kingdom. No. V'ani kirvas Elokim litayv, to be close to Hashem, that is what is truly good. Says Rav Hirsch over here that the neshama of a person, it really only craves one thing, and that is it wants to be close to Hashem. And therefore, says Dovid HaMelech, among all of the things that people worship in this world, everything they pin their trust and their faith in, there is nothing which, like yourself, can bring joy to the neshamas of men and its very essence. Which means, I recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with all that I have confronted in my life and everything I have been through, there is nothing like you in this world. Mi kamoichel be'elokim Hashem. Who is like you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is going to be near to our neshamas and bring us the ultimate joy, the ultimate satisfaction, and the salvation that we want. And therefore, whatever men will pin their faith into, whether it be idols, whether it be foreign gods, religions, their own hishtadlut, their own efforts and the like, I know, and this is what we have to teach to the world, that it is really, it's emptiness, and it is falseness, and it will never bring a person that simcha, that joy, that they are looking for. But as for you, Ribbono Shel Olam, says Rav Hirsch, you imparted to all of your creatures, there's a natural attraction that every single person has to be connected to the Eibishter, to the Creator of the world. And therefore they will never be lost to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in such a way that your neshama has a yearning. It is pulled. There's a magnetic force. The Ramchal writes in the Mesilas Yesharim that the desire that a person has to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be so great that it is like a magnet pulling metal filings to it. The biggest magnet in the world is the Ribbono Shel Olam, and our neshamas are like those metal filings, and it's being pulled in a miraculous and a spiritual way. And says Rav Hirsch the same idea over here, that since that you implanted inside of every single person this very natural desire to be close to Hashem, that is what we want. So therefore, well, because of that, we can never ever be lost from you. If I'm wandering, if I'm straying, if I'm disappearing from the map of ruchnius, of Torah and mitzvahs, even though that it looks like I'm not there, says Rav Hirsch, but you are there. Because inside of that beautiful neshama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us, inside of that soul that makes us who we are, so there's this natural attraction and pulling and a drawing that we have towards Hashem, and therefore we're never ever going to be lost. Now he writes that all the nations that you created would have all their different characteristics and their different ways and the like, even they, which they live their lives, which is not in congruence with what your will is, and they're not looking to be close to you, but in the day that will come, which is the day of Mashiach, the day that the world will reach its perfection, so then of course they are also going to come home to you as well. And they will subordinate themselves to your service, and they will acknowledge, like I acknowledge right now, they will acknowledge that you are the master of the universe. They will give honor to your name, and they will realize that of all things, they will see in the world that the world demonstrates the supremacy of who you are, Ribbono Shel Olam. And they will begin to understand, and they will know at that moment, that the only way that all of man's hopes can be expected is to be achieved and to be reached is from your sovereignty, Hashem. In this world, says Tehillim, and the way Rav Hirsch is explaining it, it's perhaps only Klal Yisrael that is going to understand that our lives are fully dependent on the Ribono Shel Olam, and that everything about us and what we are here to do and accomplish in this world is because Hashem's kingdom, His sovereignty is on top of us. And maybe the Goyim, the nations of the world, they don't recognize that. They don't see that so clearly. However, when the Mashiach will come, when the world will reach the perfection, then Be'ez Hashem, even the nations of the world, they will have no choice. They will be defeated at that moment, and they will realize that everything is from Hashem. And this is promised and guaranteed by your name, Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is always indicative of His mercy, His kindness, and we proclaim throughout the world whose power has proven in our own history. Klal Yisrael continues to proclaim and give gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything that He does, because we know Hashem well, like no other nation in the world. And then the verse says, in Yud, Ki Gadol Ata, you are great, Hashem, says Rav Hirsch. The greatness is demonstrated by His loving kindness, and above all His patience, His guiding love that He gives to those who have strayed and led them back. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you want to know what makes Hashem great? Is it because He created the world? Is it because He manipulates and He maneuvers everything the way that He does? That is godless. That is greatness. But the real greatness, says the pasuk in Tehillim over here, is that Hashem is patient and He is loving and He guides everyone that has strayed. He gives them a chance to come back to Him. And then He writes, because the pasuk says over here that V'oisei nifla'os, you do wonders, awesome things. Says Rav Hirsch, among all of Hashem's nifla'os, His wondrous things, the greatest wonder that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has made is the return of man from when he goes astray and he follows his own whims, and the world to the worship and the world, and he's come back to the worship of the one and only God. You would think that when someone goes astray, when they are lost in themselves and they're lost in their world of desires and the like, and their mind begins getting filled with wild ideas that are completely antithetical to Torah and to mitzvahs, you would think that there is no hope for such a person. But of the great nifla'os, of the great wonders of this world, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu never lets go of a single Jew. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu believes in the neshama of every single Jew. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives opportunities and chances to every single Jew that when they are ready to and when they want, they just have to grab on. And they too could return to Hashem. And this is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is why Ein Kamocha Melukim, there is no one like you, Hashem. The gods of the world that the people have praised for thousands of years, their idols and the like, and their phony gods upstairs in the Greek mythology, they are very cruel, and they are mean, and they are demonstrative gods, and when they get angry with the person, that's it, cut off, you're gone. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like that. Hashem is the creator of the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us into this world, and Hashem knows the fallibility of a human being, and He knows that we're going to make mistakes and we're going to stray. He knows all of that. And in His infinite kindness and His patience and His wisdom and His understanding and His love of the neshama of every single Jew, that neshama only wants to be close to Hashem, He'll make the greatest wonders of all time, and that is, He will bring us back towards Him when we ourselves desire to make that step and make that move in the right direction. Now the Malbim writes on these words the following idea. And he says like this, Ein kamocha, there's no one like you, Hashem. Amongst the nations of the world, there are different groups of people that like to be machish, they like to oppose your hanhaga, the way in which you run the world. V'yamru, and they say, Shagam shu levado ibaras alam, even though that Hashem himself created the world, they can admit that much. They look at the universe, they see the complexity, they see the symmetry of this world, the synergy, that everything is working right. They say, it's impossible. The world cannot have created itself. And it can't be a compilation of many different gods. I understand that. Hashem, you levado, you by yourself, you created this world. Masar, however, but you gave over the powers that you used to create the world, you gave it over to other forces in this universe. Galgalim, the planets and the stars. And similarly, and they say that it's the stars, and it's the moon, and it's the sun, and it's the planets that are invested with powers that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to them to run this world. And to spite the nations of the world, so that we should show that they are wrong, Dovid writes over here, Ein kamoicha be'elokim, there is nothing like you, Hashem. Bein elokim hashoftim manhigin ein kamoicha. Whether the judges down here in this world or the superpower of the celestial beings, nothing is like you at all, Hashem. Ki ata manig elyoin, you are the lofty manig, you are the one that is running the world. And any other power that there is in this world, nothing is independent. Everything is dependent completely on you. V'yesh kitay shayoimrim shayopoilim rabim bebriya v'shenivra al yedei ilois alulim lomus amar. And there are many people that say out there in the world that there are Pa'ilim Rabbin, there are many forces at work all of the time to make the world what it is. We say, Ein k'ma'asecha, there's nothing like your actions, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, everything is coming from you. So says Dovid HaMelech, the way the Malbim is explaining over here, is that the world itself has a great misnomer of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world and how He runs the world. And they will not deny the fact that the world is too perfect to say that it was created by itself. Hashem created the world. But He let it run on its own. He gave over, He passed the baton down to the powers of this world, and He lets them run the world itself. And we say that's not the way it happened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and He's the manig, He is the one that is running the world every single moment, every step from the beginning of creation until this very moment. It's all the Rebbeinu Shalom. Says Rav Gamliel Rabinovich on these words over here, he says, we'll get to him. Okay, let's go a little bit further over here in the words of Tehillim. And we're holding now, it's 11 through 13, we're going to see those three verses together. Hayreini Hashem darkecha. Hashem, teach me your way. Ahalech b'amitecha, then I will walk in truth. If you teach me the way to go, then I will walk in the truth of your ways. Yachei levavi, and therefore you should make my heart as one. Liyira shemecha, to fear your name. That's verse number 1. Number 2, which is Yud Beis, which is verse 12. Oidecha Hashem Elokai, then I will acknowledge you, I will give thanks to you, Hashem, my master. B'chai levavi, with my entire heart, just like my entire heart is serving you with fear and trepidation and awe, my heart now will call out to you with praise and gratitude. V'chamdu shimcha la'olam, and I will honor your name forever. And thirdly, over here in Pasuk Yud Gimel number 13, Ki chazdicha gadol alai, your chesed, your loving kindness, is overwhelming towards me. V'itzalta namshi mishol tachtia, and you saved my soul, you delivered it from the grave down below over there. Says Rav Hirsch on this fascinating idea. And he says, Dovid HaMelech realized that he understands truth better than other people, and he wants to be able to be a person in this world that will bring the knowledge of Hashem to the nations, even to his own people. But he understood, I need you to teach me HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so I know your exact way. That I can walk in your truth with sincerity. I can reconcile the stirrings and inclinations within me, so I have no fear except the awe of that I don't want to violate anything that you said that I should not do, and I will do everything within my abilities to be able to consecrate, to sanctify your name. And once that I know that with all of my fiber and all of my being, that you alone, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Master, then I will do my best to impart your name and glorify you across the world. Because once that I experience your loving kindness, once that I understand your grandeur, once that I know how great you are, so then I will be able to share that with everybody else. And since that my soul was perilously near utter destruction, because Dovid HaMelech, he lived his life always on the verge of destruction, and you rescued me and you saved me, therefore I am able to share that now with others. But Dovid HaMelech is asking over here, it's not enough what I gained up until this point. Hareini Hashem darkecha HaKadosh Baruch Hu, show me your way, and when you show me your way, then I will be able to share that and impart that to the world. Says Rav Gamliel Rabinovich on these words over here, Yesh Levayer, we could explain it in the following way. David HaMelech Avasham Mavakesh Beis Hashem. David is asking from Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please show me your way and let me go in the absolute ultimate truth. Says Rav Gamliel, show me your way so that I will know how to go in the path of truth. So the prayer of Dovid HaMelech was, he was davening, let me please go in the truthful way. Now what does that mean? We learn a very major thing over here. A person needs to daven. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I should be zeicha, I should merit to go in the way of truth. To live a life of ultimate truth is a very lofty level. Not everybody's going to merit to live a life of truth. There are many times in a person's life where they think that they're going in the way of truth. And they say, you know what, I'm serving Hashem so beautifully, I'm learning every day, I'm davening every day, I'm careful with this, with Lashon, all different things that I'm doing. I live a life of truth. Emes. But the truth of the matter is, the service of Hashem that the person is doing is filled with a lot of ulterior motives, a lot of different biases and the like, and machshava izaros, foreign ideas that have nothing at all to do with truth. Even if you are going what you think is the path of truth, because you have to work harder and harder and harder. There are so many different levels of truth. If you want to attain a higher level, and a higher level, and a higher level, you can never stop working. Dovid HaMelech at this point in his life certainly was living a derech ha'emes. He was living on the path of truth. There's nobody in the world who was more truthful than Dovid HaMelech, and yet he felt there's higher levels that I could reach. There's another place that I can get to. There's another world of emes that I could be able to see clearly, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu, guide me along the way. Allow me to understand that. Now, if that is Dovid HaMelech, if that is King David, the greatest of the men of his generation, the most truthful and real person that there was, so then al achas kama v'kama, all the more so are we ourselves going to have to invest our time and our energy in trying to uncover the truth so that we should be able to live a life of emes, a life of truth. Now once that you do that, what does the verse tell us? Yachei levavi liyira shemecha. Unify my heart so that I should be able to fear your name, Hashem. The only thing I want in my heart is that I should be able to get to the level where I want to have fear of Hashem, which is a level in and of itself. By putting Emes into your heart, then you'll have a real desire to be able to have fear of Hashem. Emes, truth, will bring you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you have a greater recognition of Hashem, then and only then can you really get to a madrega of yira, of the fear, the awe of Hashem, that I want to do what is right in your eyes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all the time. I want to do the mitzvahs, I want to fulfill them properly, and I want to steer clear of the world of averas and sins, because I know that's not what you want from me. And therefore it says, Oidecha Hashem Elokai b'chol levavi, now I will praise you, Hashem, with all of my heart. Av haydasor Hashem yizbarach, even when you praise Hashem, tima'am keliba has to come from the depths of one's heart. Ve'inyanu, what does that mean? Kevan shechol liba emes, since your whole heart now is filled with emes, with truth. Av haydasor Hashem yizbarach amitis ma'am keliba. So when you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's coming from the depths as well. L'lei pinias, without any ulterior motives over here. Umi psukim elon ulamedim, we learn from all these verses, al goydel ma'alosa shel midas ha'emes, we see the great milah, the great loftiness of the midah of emes, of truth. If a person lives a life of truth, you will be someone that is going to go on the right path. And if you're going on the right path, you don't want to veer from that path. You want to do what is right. So therefore you will fill up your heart with yira, with the fear and the awe of the Rebbeinu Shalom, the awareness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching everything on the path that I am in, and then I will behave myself in the way that is appropriate. Yaakov Avinu, who the Torah is spending a lot of time speaking about last week and the up and coming weeks, his midah, his trait was, every one of the avos, every one of our forefathers had a different trait that they exemplified. Avram was chesed, Yitzchak was din, he was like strict justice and strong service of Hashem, and Yaakov Avinu was emes, he was truth. And truth, the way that Rav Dessler defines truth is, truth means I don't waver and I don't turn. I don't go to the right. I don't go to the left. I know what is the derech, as we're saying over here, in this verse over here. Hareini Hashem darkecha, show me your way, Hashem. Ahalech ba'amitecha, and I will go in truth. Meaning, there's only one derech, there's one way of Hashem. And if I live a life of emes, of truth, then I'm able to go in the derech emes, in the pathway of truth. And I won't go to the right. I won't go to the left. Imagine that you're driving someplace and you put everything into Waze. And Waze is telling you, go straight. And you decide for some reason you're going to go to the right. So, if only Waze could talk to us. And it would tell us, I told you to go straight, why are you going to the right? But it just recalculates, and then it will tell you, no, now the next year you have to make a left, and then another left to get back onto the straight path. If a person continues going to the right, it goes farther and farther and farther and farther away from the path that they're supposed to be on. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us a derech, a path to follow. And it's a path of truth. But you have to be living truth if you want to be on that path. And once that we get on that path, like Yaakov Avinu, he did not veer to the right, to the left. He was yashar, he was straight. That's why Yaakov Avinu is the one that has all of his children are tzaddikim. They're all righteous people. They're all on that path of emes, of truth. They become the shift they call the tribes of Klal Yisrael, and we are their children. And therefore, says Dovid HaMelech, this is what he's asking for. Although at this point in his life, certainly was living a life of emes, of truth, but he was asking, I want more. I want a higher level. Because the higher the level of my emes is, the greater I'm going to be able to serve you. And then he has another perush, another explanation over here. And he says, Yached Es levavi she'poine liyira oischa. I want you to unify my heart so it should be turned towards the fear of you. V'lo yeh libi poine elech ve'elech. I don't want my heart going this way or that way. I want to be straight with you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to be one with you, Hashem. That's what I want. If I'm pulled in too much in this direction or in that direction, or I allow other things to fill up my heart besides you, I realize, says Dovid HaMelech, I'm going to be probably in some trouble. And therefore, Hashem Yizbarach B'chol Libi, then I can praise you, HaKadosh, with my entire heart, not just a little bit of my heart. Sometimes something good happens in your life, but there's something nagging at you, you want more. But you have to be thankful, you have to be grateful. So you say thank you. But it's not complete, it's not a full thank you. Like the famous story, there was a doctor, he was a religious doctor that was working in Massachusetts, has a big hospital over there. I forget what it's called right now. And in Boston, and he was working in the hospital, and he was one of the head doctors. Let's call him Dr. Kirschenbaum. And he was one of the head doctors in the hospital. And one day, as he's sitting in his office, he hears the famous sound that you sometimes hear in hospitals of code blue. Code blue means that there's someone that is right now in the hospital dying, and they announce where it is, and therefore the nurses, doctors should come to try to save this person's life. The woman was in the dining room. She was sitting there eating together with her husband, and something happened. She went into code blue, and she's on the floor, and they're trying to get her back to life. Now this Dr. Kirschenbaum is sitting in his office, and he keeps hearing code blue. He runs down to the dining room, and he sees as he gets there that all of the paramedics and the nurses, they're walking away from the woman's body. They gave up. She died. No pulse, no breath, no sign of life. They'd been working on her already 15 minutes, finished. And the Dr. Kirschenbaum sees this poor lady lying on the ground, dead, and he says, one more try. Let's do one more try. And he gets out the defibrillator and he goes down on her chest. Nothing. 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 And he's about to give up himself. And he looks and he sees the husband is standing on the side, begging, begging, begging. One more try. And the next thing he hears, beep, there's a faint heartbeat. And they start working on the heart, and the beat starts getting stronger and stronger. He tells the nurses, the doctors, the paramedics what to do over here. And he says, get her back into the room, put her on this medication, on this machine, on this. She's going to be okay. And then he goes back to his office. And the whole day goes through. At the end of the day, he's about to leave the hospital to go home. And he says, you know what? This woman, her name was Mrs. Kelly. Let me go see how she's doing. You know, maybe it'll be a Kiddush Hashem that the one doctor that saved her life was a religious Jew. I don't usually go check on everyone. It's not even my patient right now, but let me go see how she's doing. And so he comes into the room of Mrs. Kelly. He knocks on the door, and he walks in and he sees, lo and behold, Mrs. Kelly is sitting up in her bed and she's talking to her husband. And her husband jumps up and he says, that's the man! That's the one who saved your life! He's the one who saved your life! And in that moment, Mrs. Kelly breaks down. She starts crying. Uncontrollable tears. And the doctor walks in, and she's crying and crying. She finally composes herself. And she says, doctor, what can I say to you? Thank you. Thank you is what you say to someone who holds the door open for you. Thank you is what you say to someone who puts the food on your plate in front of you. Doctor, you saved my life. Thank you. It's not enough. She said, I want you to know, doctor, for the rest of my life, every time that I am appreciating the gift of life, I will say, thank you, Dr. Kirschenbaum, that you saved me. When I'm going to walk out of this hospital and go home into the car together with my husband and go to my house, I'm going to say, thank you, doctor, that you saved my life. When my grandchildren will come over and sit on my lap and I will have joy from them, I will say, thank you, doctor, that you saved my life. When I take a walk with my husband out on the beautiful road and I see the sun setting and I'm able to enjoy, I'll say, thank you, doctor, for everything you've given me. Thank you is not enough. I must thank you for the rest of my life. The doctor was very overwhelmed by the woman's kind words and her feelings. And he wished her well, and he was happy to see that she was alive, and he wished her a long, happy life. As he was leaving the hospital, so with the automatic doors, the doors opened up, and he walked outside to the other side of the street. And he stopped, and he looked up, and he says, Hashem, what can I say to you? Thank you. Thank you is what you say to someone who opens a door for you. Thank you is what you say to someone who puts food on your plate in front of you. But you, Ribono Shel Olam, you give me everything. So I will thank you every day of my life for everything you do, for my wife, for my children, for my parnasa, for my health that I can see, that I can breathe. Thank you, Hashem, for everything that you do. Because without you, I would not be here, Hashem. Says Dovid HaMelech, if I can live in the world of Emes, of truth, and I can see you, Ribono Shel Olam, clearer than I ever did before, then Yached Libi, I'll unify my heart. And I will thank you, Hashem Elokai b'chol levavi, with all of my heart. And I'll give you the gratitude and the thank you and the appreciation that you deserve for everything that you do for me. And I will honor your name forever. Says Rav Gamliel, I will thank you, Hashem, for everything. But first and foremost, thank you that you gave me the fear of Hashem. You allowed me to be filled with your awe and your glory. It's an act of kindness that a person of flesh and blood can walk around with an awe and awareness of Hashem. Your chesed is great on me. This that I have fear of Hashem, that's a chesed from you, Hashem. Great kindness. Man is not looking to be subservient to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Man likes his independence. He likes to run his life the way that he wants to run his life. Yiras Hashem means I have to live with an awareness all of the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening to me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is keeping track of me. Hashem is making marks in His book over there, what I did right, what I did wrong. That's how I have to live my life when you have Yiras Hashemayim. It's so much easier to live a life without Yiras Hashemayim, because then you can get away with bloody murder, do whatever you want. So thank you, Ribono Shel Olam, that you allowed me to go against my very physical nature and live a life where I am aware of you all of the time. Because since we pointed out, the neshama wants naturally to be drawn to Hashem, and the only way that my neshama can have it is if it's walking around with Yiras Shamayim in this world. So that itself is a tremendous chesed. And therefore, v'itzaltes nafshi mishol tachtia, you saved my soul, you rescued me from down there in the grave. Nitzlo nafshi miredes lishol tachtis, you rescued my soul from going down. A person who lives without Yiras Shamayim, without the fear of God, he just does what he wants. He's got one destination that's going to come, and that will be down there. But a person who lives a life of Yiras Shamayim, I have an awareness and awe of the Ribono Shel Olam. I'm living a different world. I'm living, watching my actions, doing things that are in line with what Hashem wants. That's the person that's elevated and moving upwards. And therefore we learn a tremendous thing, he writes. Dovid HaMelech, whatever he merited in the world of Yiras Hashem, it doesn't come from his own strength. Ela hakol b'chazdei Hashem yizbarach sheyizakeu b'yiras shamayim. On my own, says Dovid HaMelech, I would not be able to achieve those levels of Yiras Shamayim. Everything I have is because you graced me, Hashem, with the fear of God. That's why he can thank him with all of his heart. That every person has to know. Whatever you're able to merit in the world of Yirah Shamayim, and anything you accomplish in your service of God, you have to know it's not coming from yourself. It's all because of Hashem's kindness. When you come to that recognition, then you will thank Hashem with all of your heart. When you realize the greatest schus in the world is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the feelings that one has when they're doing the right things, they're aligning their neshama with the Shekhinah, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You conquer the Yetzer Haras, you conquer the challenges of life, you serve Hashem even though it's difficult under many circumstances, but you're doing and you're doing and you're doing because your Yirah Shamayim is driving force behind you that's getting you there. And then you realize, I would never be able to even accomplish that fear, that awe, unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to me, unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered my prayers, unless Hashem allowed it to be, because my body keeps getting in the way, people keep getting in the way, the mechitzas, the barriers of this world keep getting in the way, and still I'm serving Hashem like that? Thank you, Hashem. B'choy levavi, with all of my heart, I'm thanking you, Ribbono Shel Olam, for everything that you do for me, because I recognize that would it not be for you, I would not be able to accomplish anything. Now, the Malbim writes on these verses the following idea, and I want to share this with you, and we'll end with this. Hareini Hashem dachecha, Hashem, teach me your ways. Going back to the 11th verse. Bikesh sheyoidianu gimel dvarim. Dovid HaMelech is asking for three things. Number one, darchecha, your way. Shu darchei anagasai eich mani go'elim b'chesed. I want to know how Kodesh Baruch Hu, how do you run the world with chesed, with kindness and mercy? So I will know how to go in your ways as well. Like this, just like it says, I want to follow in the ways of Hashem. I want to emulate the ways of Hashem, the way that He is merciful. I'll be merciful. He does chesed. I'll do chesed. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, show me how it works. How do you run a world with chesed and rachamim? Kindness and mercy. How do you decide? How do you have patience with people? How do you overlook the injustice that people do to you? How do you not let it bother you when the world is going astray? And so you have mercy on this entire universe. Show me so I can emulate your ways. Number two, show me the truths that are hidden from the seichel, from the mind of people. How you run the world, how the world goes. Show me the ways, the real ways of the Torah that you are running the world with, then I will now to go in them. I want the truth, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to make sure that I'm living properly. One, I need to know how you're running the world with kindness and mercy. Number two, what's the real derech? What's the real way of truth? That's the way that I want to live my life. Then I'll go in the truth. I'll have the truth of faith and understanding. I'll be able to understand the way that Hashem is running the world. His hashgacha, how He runs the world. He's involved with the world. He's influencing the world. It's the world of hashgacha pratis, of divine providence. And then Tiyachein levavi liyirah shemecha. Then says Dovid HaMelech, my heart will be unified to fear you. She'al yidei kain yira rak me'Hashem levada. Then once I know you so well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I understand your ways so clearly, and I see the way you're running the world, and I understand there's so much chesed, so much rachamim, so much mercy, so much kindness, so much patience, so much love. Then I will fear you, and only you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then just to conclude, on the 13th verse he writes, then you rescue my soul from the lowly world down there. You rescued my body from my enemies. V'hanefesh mi-yetzer hara, and you rescued my nefesh, my soul, from the yetzer hara, from the evil inclination. V'koiches hamachtiim oisa, and the different powers that are in this world that get a person to sin. Once that I live a life of truth, and I live a life where I'm recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu all of the time. And not only that, but I'm filled with this yira, with this awe, the reverence of the Ribono Shel Olam. And I'm only going in the derech hayasha, the straight path. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I see all around me, you're saving me. You're rescuing me. You're making sure that I am safe from the Yetzer Hara, safe from the powers of the world around me, and therefore I can serve you in the right way. But we're only going to be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the right way if we're striving to serve Him in the right way. Service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not a magical thing. You can't say, I'd like to be better, and then not try. I'd like to improve in my mitzvahs and then not do anything about it. I'd like to live a more truthful, emistic life, and then not pursue the life of emes, the life of truth. It's only if I'm working and I'm pursuing and I'm making the effort, then says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to get to that place. And this Dovid HaMelech is pointing out for all generations, when you put in the effort, you invest the energy and the time. And even if you're Dovid HaMelech, you're looking to reach higher levels in the world of truth and the like, then you will be zeicha, as it says over here in the verse, Oidecha Hashem Elokai b'chol levavi, all of my heart I'm going to thank you with. And that is the nature of the Jewish people. We are called Yehudim. We are people that we are a nation of gratitude, a nation that recognize all the good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, but it has to be not the lip service. It has to be b'choy levavi, with all of my heart. Emes Hashem, as we continue learning the beautiful words of Tehillim, and we see the example and the lessons of Dovid HaMelech, we'll get to that place where we're living a life of emes, of truth. We're filling up our minds and our hearts and our neshamas with the yira, the awe, the reverence, the fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, knowing that He's always watching over us, involved in our lives. And then we'll see the salvations, we'll know that our prayers are being listened to and Be'ez Hashem being answered. And then Oidecha Hashem Elokai, then Hashem, I can give gratitude b'chol levavi, with all of my heart, v'chabdu shimcha la'olam, and I will honor your name la'olam, forever. A person who lives his life in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to live our lives, then always, whatever it is that you're doing, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, it's always a way to be mechabed, to honor HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything that we do. Be'ezras Hashem, a tall order, but we are people of the book that are aiming towards the tall order, and in Emes Hashem, if we aim to the heights, we'll at least get somewhere in our pathways of Avodas Hashem. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Bye.
You're welcome.